In the quiet heartland of America, something fundamental is unraveling, and it's not just crops. It's the foundation of the nation's agricultural economy. From Iowa to Indiana, Nebraska to Kansas, the people who built this country's farming backbone are watching it crack under a pressure they didn't create. What started as trade negotiations has become a full-blown crisis. In just a matter of days, 88% of U.S. soybean exports, the lifeblood of American agriculture, have vanished. And it's not a temporary glitch. This collapse is tied to a dramatic shift in global trade patterns, sparked largely by escalating tariffs and deteriorating diplomatic trust. For the farmers in the fields, this isn't about politics anymore. It's about survival. For decades, China was the United States' largest buyer of soybeans at its peak, purchasing more than $14 billion worth annually. Today, that number has plummeted close to zero. In 2025 alone, China has not made a single purchase of U.S. soy, corn, or wheat. Instead, it's turned to Brazil, Argentina, and even Canada. These aren't short-term shifts. These are multi-year contracts locking the U.S. out of what was once a dependable market. This dramatic exodus didn't happen by accident. It was accelerated by a tariff war that backfired. In response to U.S.-imposed tariffs as high as 145% on Chinese goods, China retaliated with 125% tariffs on American agricultural products. What followed was an unprecedented wave of canceled orders, including a staggering 12,000 tons of U.S. pork and a complete breakdown of trust between the two nations' agricultural sectors. The immediate impact? Silos overflowing with unsold crops. In the Midwest, soybeans are rotting, corn is piled in barns without buyers, grain elevators are turning away deliveries. Some farmers are choosing not to plant at all this season, uncertain whether a harvest will even be worth the fuel to reap it. It's easy to forget how fast this decline has happened. Just a few years ago, American agriculture was riding high on the back of a robust export market. Today, that market is in shambles. The collapse of 88% of exports didn't just knock the wind out of the farming economy, it shattered the lungs. This goes beyond just soybean growers. Equipment dealers, feed mills, trucking companies, seed suppliers, they're all caught in the ripple. In some parts of Iowa and Nebraska, equipment sales are down more than 60%. Tractor dealers are closing up shop. Parts are harder to find and more expensive, thanks to steel tariffs. In fact, some farmers are selling their machinery just to buy groceries. And it's not just the economics, it's mental and emotional too. Rural suicide rates, already disproportionately high, are climbing. Mental health hotlines in farming states are overwhelmed. The stress isn't just about losing a business. It's about losing a way of life that's been passed down through generations. Many farmers now say they regret their votes, not out of partisanship, but from a sense of betrayal. The trade war was promised to be short-term pain for long-term gain. But now, after multiple years of strained exports, lost markets, and broken relationships, the gain still hasn't materialized. And with Brazil rapidly expanding its soy production, adding nearly 3 million hectares in the past year alone, there's little incentive for China to return to the U.S. market anytime soon. To understand the magnitude, consider this. Brazil's soybean exports to China have increased by more than 40% year over year. With modernized infrastructure and fewer trade barriers, they've become China's preferred partner. China recently signed a 10-year agricultural partnership deal with Brazil, effectively locking out U.S. competition for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, American trade representatives tout new deals with the UK and India, but these markets are smaller and less soy-reliant. India's demand for soybeans is minimal, and the UK, with its domestic agriculture subsidies, is unlikely to offset China's absence. Farmers know this. They can do the math. And it's not just international buyers disappearing. Domestic costs are rising fast. Due to tariffs on Chinese steel and components, the price of basic farming tools, from replacement parts to grain bins, has jumped significantly. Fertilizer, much of it imported, is now 35% more expensive than it was just 2 years ago. Even diesel costs are up nearly 20% year over year. So farmers are being squeezed from both sides, fewer buyers and higher costs. The result is a shrinking middle in American agriculture. Corporate farms with deep pockets may weather the storm, but small and mid-sized farms, the true core of rural America, are being pushed to the brink. 12 states have now sued the federal government, alleging that the use of emergency powers to impose tariffs bypassed Congress and violated the Constitution. These lawsuits argue that rural communities are being disproportionately harmed by trade decisions made without their input. In many of these towns, agriculture isn't just an industry. It's the economy, the culture, and the community itself. And that community is fraying. Young people are leaving, schools are closing, equipment sits idle in barns. Local diners that once filled with early morning coffee and conversation are now half empty. This isn't just about economics. It's a cultural unraveling. Some lawmakers are trying to respond. A $20 billion aid package is currently being debated in Washington, but direct payments to farmers don't solve the long-term issues. As one farmer put it, a check might pay this month's bill, but it won't reopen a port in Shanghai. Farmers aren't asking for bailouts. They're asking for opportunity, for stable trade relationships, for infrastructure investment, for someone in power to think 5 years ahead, not 5 minutes. And yet, the political will to do that seems weak. Trade policy remains reactive, not proactive. Short-term deals are made for headlines, not harvests. Long-term planning is sacrificed at the altar of political cycles. At the global level, the consequences are also severe. Countries like Nigeria, heavily reliant on imported U.S. grains, are facing skyrocketing food prices. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization recently warned that ongoing disruptions in U.S.-China trade risk triggering instability in vulnerable economies. This is what happens when the world's largest agricultural exporter stumbles. It's not just an American problem, it's a global one. So what's next? For many farmers, the question is no longer how do we grow, but can we hold on? The dream of passing the farm to the next generation is fading. The idea that hard work and good harvests will pay off is being replaced by cynicism and resignation. Yet amidst all this, there's still resolve. Farmers are resilient. They face droughts, floods, pests, and more. But never have they faced this kind of political uncertainty. Never have they seen global buyers walk away so quickly and so permanently. They don't want to be pawns in a geopolitical chess game. They want to be partners in feeding the world. The real question America must now ask is this: are we protecting our nation's strength, or are we undermining it from within? Are we using trade policy to support our people, or are we sacrificing the rural backbone of this country to make a point on the global stage? Because if America's farmers fall, the ripple effects will be felt in every home, in every city, on every plate. And rebuilding what we're losing now will take not just years, but decades, if it's even possible. It's time for a course correction. Not just for the sake of farmers, but for the sake of food security, economic stability, and the future of rural America. The collapse of 88% of U.S. agricultural exports in a matter of days isn't just a warning. It's an alarm bell, and the question is, who's listening? Who's